Serie A.
Marcus Thuram! What a start to life in the Milan derby!
And all Manchester City games.
He goes and stones and high!
Live on K24. This season, K24 is your playground for champions. Don't miss out. Tune in and watch the best football from around the world on Maskani ya Machampe live on K24. Game ni 90, lakini ball ni 24/7 hapa K24.
Are you a church and seeking to reach an even bigger congregation? K24 TV and Kameme TV are offering you an opportunity to grow your gospel and expand the territories of your church fellowship. Book your slot today. Call Fred on 0722 475102. 0722 475102.
Have you watched K24? We would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback on what you like and what you don't like and why. You can use any platform to reach us. We can be reached on Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp.
I will love you without condition.
Oh yeah, Nairobi, Kenya comes alive on the 7th of December 2024.
Malaika.
At SK, the Dome Jamhuri Park Showground from 7 p.m. as the sensational Register Etana will be performing live at the Good Vibes Festival. Tickets are now available at ticketyetu.com. Advanced regular tickets are going for 2,000 and 2,500 shillings at the gate. Advanced VIP tickets are going for 4,000 shillings and 5,000 at the gate, while VVIP tickets are going for 6,000 and 8,000 Kenyan shillings at the gate. Ingia, ticket yetu na ushike tiko yako leo. Come and have some good vibes.
I'm not the sort of person who falls in and quickly out of love. But to you, I give my affection right from the start.
Even Job, he overcome the lines the devil had put for him. He entered the next level. Today, I prophesy, just like Job, God bless his life. Yeah. He received double. Today, you are crossing that suffering, crossing that sickness, crossing that failure, that poverty, joblessness. You are entering your next level. Double.
Here is what's coming.
Let's go. Getting on the way, picks up one. No one with the floor.
They are the champions, undisputed.
Welcome back. I'm glad you're still watching K24's New Dawn. My name is Joel Chacha. Even as today we review the State of the Nation address that was issued by President William Ruto on Thursday, that is in Parliament. Once again, in studio, I'll be joined shortly by Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, who is the MP Mbeere North, Honorable Eddie Okech, Migori Senator, and already in studio is Ruth Kinyanjui. She is an economist. Thank you so much, Ruth, for creating time this morning. But before engaging Ruth and also other panelists, let's also focus on this story where President Ruto has called on the society to reform the upbringing of the boy child into responsible, morally upright men who do not assert their masculinity at the expense of women. The president's remarks come in response to a troubling rise in violence against women, with Kenya recording at least 97 cases of femicide since August. David Kagina now reports.
In a bid to tackle femicide and gender-based violence in the country, President Ruto has urged politicians, public officers, religious leaders, traditional institutions and families to play their part in reshaping how boys are raised. He emphasized the importance of nurturing boys into men who contribute to creating a just, safe, equal and inclusive society. Ruto warned that the increased cases of femicide and gender-based violence are making women feel unsafe even in their own homes. He promised swift action by relevant authorities to address reported cases, assigning Deputy President Kithure Kindiki the task of presenting an affirmative action plan within 6 months to guarantee the safety of women.
It is time for each of us, political leaders, public officers, religious leaders, traditional institutions and family members, to do our part in raising boys into morally upright men who will never need to affirm their masculinity at the expense of women.
While acknowledging the constitutional right to protests in the Kenyan democracy, the president admitted his government is facing challenges in balancing citizen protection with democratic freedoms.
The tension here is stuck. We have a democracy which we are proud of, must defend and should deepen by all means. And at the same time, we have citizens whose lives, rights we must protect, and a nation whose security, stability and prosperity we must safeguard. The task at hand is complicated.
The head of state also addressed reports of increased abductions and enforced disappearances, attributing some cases to misinformation and others to lawful police arrests where suspects were presented in court. However, he reiterated his commitment to the rule of law.
I must, however, make it very clear that there is no attempt to justify or excuse illegal arrests. Such would be a serious threat to the life and liberty of citizens. I condemn any excessive or extrajudicial action which puts the life and liberty of any person at risk, including disappearances and threats to life.
The president's silence on the alleged abduction of Uganda's opposition Kizza Besigye and his reappearance in Uganda was conspicuously loud. He also downplayed the possibility of continuous abduction by police officers, calling on Kenyans of goodwill who have information where police officers are being involved in these abduction cases to present themselves and report these cases to relevant authorities. For K24 from Parliament, Nairobi, I'm David Kagina.
Well, that is as far as the femicide issue is concerned. Remember, the president also had allocated 100 million towards, of course, the campaign to sensitize Kenyans on that particular matter. The campaign begins next week. Now, President William Ruto has announced an escalation in the war against corruption to a whole new level. In his address on Thursday, Ruto stated that this time he will ruthlessly deal with corruption, while warning government officials that he has launched an intense crackdown on graft within his administration to save the country from this menace. Majibu Kisao has more.
The fight against corruption has been a persistent problem for a long time. Today, in his speech, the president addressed the issue, presenting strategies to tackle it within his government.
The many difficult assignments I have undertaken, this fight against corruption is one I now take on with resolve going forward.
The president told government officials that the crackdown on corruption is already underway, and this time is going to be intense. He also called on the judiciary and parliament to step up and support this fight, stating that it's their time to get involved or remain as mere spectators reading reports about the battle.
Independent institutions charged with this responsibility must up their game, pull up their socks, and match up to the expectations of the people of Kenya.
The president's remarks come in the wake of heavy criticism from religious leaders in the country who recently accused his administration of rampant corruption. Ruto said that because corruption poses a significant threat to social justice, development, national security and the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, he will seek a collaborative approach with various agencies to address the challenge.
All these measures will only achieve intended results if and only if the institutions charged with combating corruption and promoting efficiency and integrity stop hiding behind the transparent screen of independence.
The issue of suspects interfering with evidence was also highlighted, with the president noting that it cannot be the case that the Director of Public Prosecutions continues to drop cases simply because somehow they fail to produce witnesses.
It cannot also be the case that corruption suspects rush to court to obtain anticipatory bail that shields them from due process and enables them to compromise investigations. There is also no reason for corruption cases to drag in our courts for years, when the same courts are able to determine election petitions and related disputes within 6 months.
Majibu Kisao for K24 TV, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, President William Ruto has called out those sabotaging efforts of achieving the 2/3 gender rule, championing for inclusion of women in leadership roles in the country. This coming in the backdrop of recent fresh push to have the 13th Parliament dissolved over failure to enact the rule that not more than 2/3 of members of elective and appointive position should be of the same gender.
Women continue a fresh push to have the 13th Parliament dissolved in a bid to achieve the implementation of the 2/3 gender rule. President William Ruto has affirmed his commitment in inclusion of women in the country's leadership.
I engage the leadership of both houses with recommendations on a working formula to actualize meaningful inclusion of women in national leadership. We must seriously question the drivers and the motives of resistance and reluctance to take the next step in actualizing the 2/3 gender rule.
In his third State of Nation address, the head of state has, however, castigated those undermining the rights of women.
We must call out those who continue to sabotage these rights of women to contribute to the governance of our nation. Women are not second-class citizens. They deserve equal representation at all levels.
A pronouncement that has been welcomed by legislatures.
For many years we have been wondering on how we can handle the 2/3 gender thing. But today our president has made us proud. And as a nation we know that women, have a lot of votes and we carry the bigger percentage. And he has just made us proud because without women there is no life. Without women you can not do anything.
Very soon 2/3 gender rule will be realized so that women should be treated on equal basis and given opportunity just like men.
In 2020, former Chief Justice David Maraga directed former head of state Uhuru Kenyatta to dissolve the 12th Parliament for failing to enact the gender rule as spelled out in the Constitution. Since the enactment of the Constitution 2010, the 10th, 11th, 12th and the current Parliament have failed to enact the rule which stipulates not more than 2/3 of members of elective and appointive positions should be of the same gender. For K24 TV, I'm Bentura Kwamboka.
That is as far as the 2/3 gender rule is concerned. We focus now on what is on our dailies this morning, and already in studio I'm joined by Honorable Edio Ketch, who is the Migori Senator, and as well Ruth Kinyanjui. She is an economist. On the People Daily this morning, it splashes of Adani deal, Ruto eats humble pie, leaves Raila Wandai with an egg on their face. And images there of Raila Odinga, Opiyo Wandai, and President William Ruto. Remember, the three had supported the Adani deals. In fact, for Opiyo Wandai yesterday, he was before a parliamentary committee, and he put a spirited defense as far as the Adani deals are concerned, despite an indictment at that particular time in the US. Something that he was aware of, because he actually responded to it. Now, just to begin with Ruth, thank you so much for getting time once again. The Adani deal has been cancelled finally.
Finally.
A number of times we've highlighted about it right here on this panel with you on the PPPs. But it's still open. You know, the president is still inviting other persons maybe to also initiate the PIPs. In this case, when you say we are going to engage other people, is it still considered as a privately initiated initiative or proposal? Because already the government has, you know, declared that they need to have persons to invest, of course, in those particular, maybe the JKA and the energy sector.
I think one of the things you can remember, Chacha, we discussed last time is the fact that one of the things that was making Mwananchi very annoyed or angry is the fact that Adani deal was being seen as single-sourced. And the single sourcing of the whole issue and the fact that he was dominating most of the sector was becoming like unbearable. The fact that a few things had been highlighted about some of the major projects that Adani had done in other countries, and especially the corruption issues that were being cited from where he stands, I think that was making Kenyans angry. But despite Kenya pointing out some of these issues since early in the year, and the fact that everything was going or was landing on deaf ears, I think yesterday brought a lot of controversy because first, I'll remind you, Chacha, the standing ovation we saw in the House, I don't think it was genuine, because how can they stand that Adani deal has been cancelled, yet they're the same people who are advocating? What were they trying to say? The second thing is the fact that many things could have contributed to the cancellation of the Adani deal. One, the fact that churches and bishops have come together and said these things are not being done well. Second is the fact that the US came and a recent case was said that Adani has tried, is a corrupt person, and they have tried to find their way through corruption in the US, which is not allowed. But the fact that as early as yesterday morning, still senior government officials were still defending the Adani deal, including especially, and one of the things that was mentioned in yesterday's State of the Nation address is a broad-based government. Then how can we continue? How is it going to continue with a broad-based government if the part of the broad-based government are the people who say Adani was good and actually were the people, you know, and the president came and went contrary to what had been said. All those things are controversy, but the thing is here, it remains that common Mwananchi or Mwananchi of Kenya was right from the very beginning. There's also that, I bring another controversy and say, does that now say that the impeached former deputy president is now was now right? Does it mean that he was Kenyan and president has come now to join the Kenyan? So it is a whole issue of and also the fact that corruption was really highly mentioned yesterday, and one of the things that has brought this country down, and we can say it's corruption.
Well, we'll be getting actually to the issue of corruption and how the DPP is now you know, being targeted as far as dropping of the cases are concerned, yet previously it was the president that was accused of using the DPP to withdraw cases of his close allies. Now we're also joined by Honorable Geoffrey Ruku. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for creating time. He's the Mbeere North Member of Parliament. But before getting to you, Honorable Ruku, Senator Eddie, the people daily splashes of the Adani deal. Ruto eats humble pie, leaves Raila and Wandai with an egg on their face.
I don't think so.
But it is so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think first of all, good morning to our viewers and good morning to Kenyans who have joined us this morning. It is a critical time when we are having conversations after conversations, led sometimes by the political class and sometimes by the people. And I think that the Adani deal comes in that context of a conversation led by the people at some moment. And just like my sister here said, there were a lot of discontentment about Adani issues, apart from the fact that there was no transparency and a dent of integrity then called for people to question this charter. There was also just the impact of Adani coming into the marketplace. Remember that the one group that was really keen on not having Adani taking over JKIA was the employees themselves, because there was a proposal by Adani to be able to review the entire employee structure, which could have meant a lot of people could have been laid off. So this was a big problem. But to the extent of what Honorable Raila Odinga talked about in Mombasa, when he talked about Adani, it was the concept of PPP. The concept of PPP in the sense that the country we are in today was at that time and still is facing a lot of challenges with regards to, number one, high taxation. When you want to do multi-billion projects in the country, you must be able to source for the finances to do it. Taxes were not an option, and still are not an option, because our people are extremely overtaxed. If you tax them more to do any mega development projects, you're not going to achieve it. You will have a population that is going to suffer from poverty. The second place of raising money, Chacha, to be able to build these mega projects, then become debt. Our debt structure, by the time that Adani deal was coming in place, we had serious debt problems in the country that you could not even borrow any time more. And even now, we are still dealing with debt management strategy in government. So you can't borrow really to do mega projects. The last one would be grants, but then grants, Chacha, cannot be able to, you can't raise grants to do mega projects. So what option do we have as a country that remains? And this was what Honorable Raila said, that what we have that is remaining is then being able to develop a PPP platform, a public-private partnership platform, to be able to raise the resources needed. Now, the problem is this. In 2006 is when this law was passed, the law to encourage PPPs to be part of our development metrics. But the problem is that law has been mutilated over time, because I think that people are taking Honorable Raila's speech in the context of just saying that Adani is a company that he has seen do a number of projects in India, but people are not taking the entire speech that he said. And the speech he said is that that law has been mutilated over time to the extent that things like transparency, what my sisters talk about here, single sourcing, being able to identify the details of these contracts and then making them public to the people was the biggest problem, because Adani deal was being done in the darkness. And because of that transparency, we need to continue with the idea of PPPs, but we need to continue with it where there is full transparency with the people.
I'll still be coming back to you, but just before I take a break, allow me to also get opening remarks from Honorable Geoffrey Ruku. Adani deal cancelled. However, the president throws under the bus Raila Odinga and Opiyo Wandayi. Is it really fair to his good friends in the broad-based government?
I don't think that is the case. Nobody has been thrown under the bus.
Maybe similar to the MPs during the finance bill of 2024.
No. Nobody who has been thrown under the bus. For every business transaction, there is what we call full disclosure. And in this case, it seems there was no full disclosure as far as Adani public-private partnership deal is concerned. And the indictment of Adani by the United States government, of course, in every contract, international contract, there is always a clause that if your company is internationally indicted by any nation, by any, or convicted by a criminal case in any country or any jurisdiction in the world, then that contract ceases to be binding. And I think it's a case where there was no full disclosure as far as the operations of Adani group is concerned. And out of what has happened, any country, whether even if it was any other country, whether Kenya or whichever country it was, you kill such a transaction, such a deal, such a contract with immediate effect. So nobody who has been thrown under the bus, because there was no these prior information which came out 2 days ago as far as Adani operation in the United States of America.
Pundits argue that it's becoming President Ruto's new habit of doing that. I mean, UMPs faced the same during the finance bill of 2024.
We did not face anything similar. We had a meeting with the president and we agreed as a team, as Kenya Kwanza team then, but at the moment, we have what we are calling broad-based team, and we are doing very well. We had a discussion with the president because finance bill is not MP's document, it is president document. It is developed by executive, then brought to parliament.
So
I don't know whether we are in agreement with that.
So you listen in that case to the president and not...
No. We under discussion. Finance bill for record, but let's not... That's what under the bridge.
Well, when
the
we
thing
come
is,
back after the break...
Nobody has been thrown under the bus. That deal was cancelled because there were revelations, new revelations.
I'll be getting you the bites of what President Ruto said, Raila Odinga said, and also Opio and I said about Adani just before the cancellation of the deals, and whether the move was really because the president listens to Kenyans or he's a puppet of the US. We take a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.